Welcome back to Mountain Connections. Very excited to have Suzanne Ruhlman here. She is from the Natural History Museum of Utah to talk about their upcoming Indian art market. Happens every year. I can't believe it's already time again.
Me either.
But we're excited because it's an incredible opportunity to buy some just gorgeous art.
It is. The museum's a great backdrop to this show as well. We're so excited for it. This is our 7th time putting on this market to the public. It's a juried show, so the artists apply for the show and get selected to be into the show. We've got 30 artists this year across, I think, 10 or 11 different tribes and across many different mediums. So even though we're a small show, you can see a lot of variation of work and tribes and talk to the people, meet them, hear their stories, and maybe fall in love with a piece and buy a piece for yourself.
So not only do you have these spectacular works of art, the artists are there as well to talk about their creative process and explain their inspiration.
Exactly, and I think that's the really cool thing about this, whereas if you're in a gallery you may not have an opportunity to meet the artists, but here you can walk around the show and talk to everybody and really hear their stories, hear the meaning behind the pieces that they're creating, and the time involved and all of that sort of thing. I think it really brings it home to the person that's purchasing a piece and makes it so much more meaningful.
This is an annual event. How do you connect with the artists? How do you find more artists to apply every year?
So some of it's been word of mouth from the artists that have been in the show because they've really had great experiences. They love the museum and they love the Utah public. They have told me that they feel like they're really educated and they know what they're looking at and they're interested in talking to the artists. So they've all really had a great experience here. But I also send out information to the heads of all the tribes in the state of Utah and all the surrounding states. I have a mailing list of people that inquire after the show each year, and then they have to wait another year. So I've got a waiting list of people that have tried to get in but were too late, and so many different ways to get the word out on our show.
So you're not just picking favorites or regular artists, you are getting the word out and you are selecting the absolute top of the tops. It's quite an honor to be a part of the show.
I think so, and I believe that the artists feel that way as well.
So let's look at some of the pieces that you brought. These
Sure.
will all be available.
Sure. Some of these things are from our museum store, and many of them are from the artists that either have been in our show in the past or are in our show. This is a painting by Gil Scott. He's a Navajo artist from Montezuma Creek, Utah. His work is really contemporary and just so interesting. I love the spin he puts on like a traditional Native American, a traditional Navajo story. You can see in the clouds, they're buffalo. Do you see that now?
Oh, I do.
So he has
it's
a
like
lot
a herd stampeding.
So
That's
in
gorgeous.
a very contemporary way, he kind of hides these traditional Navajo stories that he's telling. Beautiful work. I've got, this is a pot from, this artist is not in this year's show, but he's been in previous years, and these as well are Poponi. We've got jewelry artists and painters. We've got 2 photographers. We have a rug weaver this year, which is exciting. We've got a couple fetish carvers, beautiful.
I just kind of grabbed one. I like
just
it.
just a little something.
Just a little something for myself.
Exactly. So a lot of jewelry artists, that's a real prevalent art form, but we've got some wood carvers and a really varied field this year. It's exciting.
And these gorgeous textiles. This is a beautiful rug.
This is a gorgeous Navajo rug. This one's actually from my personal collection, but we do have a rug weaver. It's her first time in the show. Her name is Etta Claw Peacock, and she's known for the beauty of her rug weaving, and she does traditional yay patterns, which are incredible. So we're real excited to have her in the show this year.
And you've got these beautiful...
So those are fetishes, and that's a traditional Zuni craft, and we have 2 fetish carvers in the show this year. They both have extremely different styles, so if you're a collector, you probably would want to get one from each of these carvers that are in the show.
Get several to add to your collection.
Exactly.
And then I'm curious about this beautiful
So that's
little guy.
This is a Ute artist named Norman Lansing, and again, he's been a past participant in the show. He is not in the show this year, but He does pottery and carvings and paintings, and has been in the show. I think he was in our show about 3 or 4 times. Like I said, this is not in the show this year. I had to pull together some things to bring here to this morning.
But it's a great sampling of what you will find.
It is a great sampling. We do have painters and potters, and we've got a couple new potters this year that people will have not seen before. The show is free to the public, which, you know, we've really worked hard to keep it as a free show to really encourage people to come and bring their kids and look at this work and expose them to these cultures that they may not be exposed to normally. We hope that it encourages you to buy a ticket to the museum and go see the museum while you're up there. We've got 2 great exhibits on Native American culture, one on contemporary Native Americans called Native Voices, and one on ancient Native Americans called First Peoples. I had to think for a minute. But, you know, and then dinosaurs and all the requisite natural history things that are fabulous. But this particular show is free to the public, so.
Why does the Natural History Museum of Utah value and prioritize this market as well as the Navajo auction that comes up in the spring? Why is that such a big part of the museum?
Sure. The museum's always had a really strong connection to the Native communities in Utah. We've got an Indian Advisory Board that we've worked with for probably decades. They help the new museum design the Native exhibits that are in the museum, and they meet regularly to make sure that we are telling their stories in a way that respects their cultures and that in a way that they would want them presented to the public. So it's always been a very strong connection. So this was an important way for the museum to kind of support those communities, to support these arts, you know, to kind of, at least in a small way, make sure that these artists continue to create and the public continues to see this incredible work.
And such an integral part of Utah's history, so it's great that you value that and display it so often.
Absolutely. Beside it being really fun, and these are great people, and it's so cool to meet them and talk to them, and their work is amazing.
It really is. Well, one more time, time, place, website. We don't want anyone to miss out on this.
Good. So the show is this Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 5, both days. It is free to the public. We're at 301 Wakara Way on the University of Utah's campus, right at the base of the mountains. Our website is www.nhmu.utah.edu. And we're hoping everybody will come down and check this out.
Well, I'm sure they will. Well, thanks so much, Suzanne, for being here.
Thank you.
And bringing all these incredible pieces.
Thanks for having me.
All right, you don't want to miss out on this market this weekend. Really great pieces. I already found one that I'm really wanting to purchase, so head down, find some beautiful artwork for your home. Also enjoy the culture and the other exhibits at the museum. It's really a gorgeous place to be if you haven't been there. So I highly recommend heading down to the Natural History Museum of Utah. We have more coming up on Mountain Connections right after this.